Over the years, he has had an almost magical, uncanny ability to predict things in the future. It started with his ability to predict things in the stock market, and then ultimately a couple of opportunities where he predicted the fall of nations. And then he got himself in a lot of trouble. A few years ago, there was a documentary about him called The Forecaster.
I thought I could create a system that stores the knowledge of a century to predict the future. The computer says your country's just going to completely fall apart in 8 days.
Obviously, that prediction was correct.
And so that's how I kind of ended up developing really the first artificial intelligence system. They still don't have anything remotely close to it.
You build this computer that becomes really good at analyzing all the data that's being put in and starting to predict market crashes, futures, economies, really. All right, very quickly, just what would be some of the big predictions that computers made over the course of its involvement?
Well, besides 9/11, 87, it picked Britain. It predicted Trump would win, or predicted that Brexit would win. And these things happen because of the economics.
Right. So this pandemic hits. You're a financial guy. I saw it coming, was predicting my audience, because I, in some ways, was watching the money. I was saying the pharmaceutical industry is putting more money into our government than any other industry there is. How, for you, did this affect? What were the financial things that were going on, and what did you think as soon as this pandemic started?
It really began in August 2019. Suddenly, the U.S. banks wouldn't touch anything to do with Europe.
Okay.
So the Federal Reserve had to step in, and that was August of 2019. It was clear at that point in time that everything was starting to change in the capital flows, and something serious was developing in Europe. By January, I know that, even Klaus Schwab had told people that he knew a virus was coming, that the World Economic Forum Schwab had sold all his stuff out, including stocks and bonds. Now, you wouldn't sell bonds unless you thought the governments are going to go down. So the computer projected we were going to have what ended up being the COVID crash.
Okay.
And the object is really to get rid of democracy.
Okay.
In Europe, to make people think they still have some sort of a right, you get to vote for an MP for Parliament. But Parliament has no power to write laws or overrule the Commission. The Commission doesn't stand for election. The head of the EU also is not elected. They're appointed by the other heads of state. So you have a political system there that has pretended to be a democracy, but has nothing to do with anything. So they've successfully eliminated the power of the people to actually overthrow the government at the polls. The three major players are Soros, Gates, and Schwab.
Okay.
They each bring something different to the table. But Schwab is more on the economic side. He really believes in this Marxist, panacea, so to speak. Soros is, with his open society, believes in this one world government. And
Soros pushes power in the UN, right?
His idea is the UN would then become the dominant control of the world. Gates, his father was, the head of Planned Parenthood, which was basically set up in minority areas to reduce the population. Schwab set up a youth leaders group, and he's training people to be future heads of state. I mean, the head of state of New Zealand is a graduate from his. I mean, there's a lot of people that you'd be very surprised are graduates from Klaus Schwab's brainwashing operation, the way I see it. But Schwab had the influence, the ability to bring in world leaders.
What was really scary to me was the moment I, saw this slogan, Build Back Better. What is this really all about? The Great Reset. Is it, why now? Like, what is it that needs to be reset? Is there something that's about to happen or is going on that we don't know?
Yes, from the economic side. So ever since World War II, now the governments are the biggest borrower and debtor in the system. So this whole thing is about when Schwab comes out and says, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. It's to pretend that they are doing this for you. That you're going to be eliminated, your mortgage payments, your car payments, they'll be all gone. Student loans, sounds good, but basically it's a front because it's the way government defaults. Okay. But they can't default. If they default, and what would happen is they wipe out everybody's savings, the pension funds, etc., which is what happened in the Great Depression. Schwab has sold the idea that the only way you're going to come out of this is we need more authoritarian forms so you retain power. I've argued on the opposite side of the table from him is that we can eliminate the debts by creating coupons and then swapping them to do a debt-to-equity swap. So then you would take these coupons and you could only invest it.
So is that a coupon given to citizens or given to people?
Yes. If you got a $1,000 bond, you get a coupon. Then you could take it to Klaus Schwab or whatever and say, okay, fine, it's good to buy equities.
Okay. So
small companies would have suddenly the funding would be there for them to actually grow. Most small businesses, 70% of them are turned down for loans. Right. So I mean, you could grow the economy tremendously if you stop competing against them. And what you have to understand about the climate change is that that's the agenda of the UN. The UN says no single country can defeat climate change. So their argument is everybody has to be subservient to the UN, and the UN will make the rules and regulations. And that's where Schwab's little video, the US will no longer be a superpower. Our arsenals will be handed to the UN, and UN will become the one world government. The damage that's been caused with this pandemic is they have deliberately divided people. I mean, even the race issues they used. And so everything they could do to separate people. The Nazis, that's how they gained power. We separate people. And so they've been, over the years, they've used religion, they've used race, they've used, everything. This time they were also using vaxxed versus unvaxxed. And what makes civilization function is that we all come together and everybody benefits. Those in power don't see it. So all they're concerned about is keeping power. So they'll get more authoritarian, more draconian. Mm-hmm.
When Klaus Schwab makes this prediction that America will not be a superpower, do you feel that that's an accurate prediction? Or, I mean, whether they're driving that agenda or not, do we see a shift towards China, which is, I think, what we're all concerned about?
Well, China, after 2032, will be the new financial capital of the world. That's because we are committing suicide ourselves.
Okay.
Dividing the country like this, Biden saying, oh, the military, you have to be vaccinated. And I think it was like 46% were refusing to get vaccinated. Yeah. What is this? And then you stand up and say, well, U.S. will be there to defend Taiwan. Well, how are you going to do that if you're going to fire half the military?
Right.
There's an old lesson from politics. It's called the Nika Revolt that happened in Byzantine times in the 6th century. The people were revolting against the emperor, and the local police sided with the people.
Okay.
So that's why they want defund the police, get rid of the local police.
Because they know each other, they know the people.
Exactly.
It's their neighborhood. It's my brothers
if I
and
live
sisters.
next to you, am I going to shoot you?
Right.
History does repeat because of humanity makes the same mistakes over and over again. Rome fell basically from corruption internally, as we're seeing again here. Mm-hmm. They've always wanted somebody who's just a figurehead. Deep state, so to speak, is really what controls things. They have Biden in there, and He'll sign anything they stick in front of him, really. You're lucky if he can read it.
So what do we do to protect ourselves?
Civilization is when everybody benefits. Not when, okay, now I've got in charge, so I'm going to oppress you because I want it this way. Empires rise and they fall, and they rise and they fall. They rise when they benefit everybody. When you start singling out groups, you fall. You need, everybody's got to benefit. If we all don't benefit together, then what's the purpose of being together? This is a political idea, and Amazon used it. They created a diversity index for their employees. The more diverse the workforce, then they would never get together to form a union. And this is what the government is doing. If you divide everybody, then they will never join together and overthrow you.
I want to thank you for standing your ground and really truly representing what it means to be a hero. Government, coming after you, you walk out, you're free, you proved to be right, you held on to everything you believed in.
Oh, I just believed in Patrick Henry. Give me liberty or give me death. I'm not going to go any other way.
Amen.